Hey, welcome back to Wrestling Travels Lockdown Sessions. We are brought to you by our good friends over at Wrestle Merch Central. They are Europe's biggest store for everything professional wrestling, so please hit them up. And we are very, very honored to have ECW original C.W. Anderson joining us. I want to say in studio, but joining us virtually today.
Yeah, virtually in studio.
Thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Justin, man. I'm doing fantastic. Hope you are as well. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah, no, 100%. Thank you for being here. We'll jump right into it. I want to jump into, I usually try to jump in early career and then kind of get to where we are in this 2020, 2021. But I want to start because I call it the lockdown sessions. How has this crazy year been for you?
Man, it's been one of the craziest years, if not the craziest for me on so many different levels. Back in June, I think it was, I had announced my retirement. I was in a and I've told this on several podcasts, I was in a very, very dark place in my life. Probably one of the darkest I've ever been in because, not many people know this, and I'm not ashamed to what I'm getting ready to say. I look back on it and it's actually changed. It's changed me and made me who I am right now. But, people think wrestlers had this great life and it's all fun and games. But, the night I released that video, I was actually planning on killing myself. I actually had the 9mm in my hand and was gonna end my life. I was like I said, I was in a very dark place. Somewhere don't think I've ever been. And, with COVID and coming in, and I was going through a really bad marriage breakup, divorce, however you want to call it, is the worst I've ever been involved in. And I had another thing going on in my life, but long story short, with that, it actually turned out for the best. It got me to step away from wrestling because at the time the person I was with made me hate wrestling. It was come to a point where it said, choose wrestling or us, because they didn't like wrestling. So it got me away from wrestling, got me away from a lot of things. I got off social media. I got my life together, reconnected with someone that I freaking adore, who end up, I'm engaged to now. She was my valet. Now she's my fiance, future wife, Brittany Marie, who's actually another person that has helped guide my life. We both turned our life over to God. We are both trying to be more religious than we are. It's a daily process. And everything has turned out like it's supposed to, because we're in a very good place in our life. And, we enjoy, she's one of the main reasons I came back to wrestling, because she knows how much I love wrestling. Wrestling's been 27 years of my life. And, the night I retired, I was scared to death. And I see why guys kill themselves. I see why guys hang themselves, because, for me, 27 years, I've been C.W. Anderson. And it got to a point where I was C.W. Anderson 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to where my family didn't like being around me. My nieces, my nephews didn't want to see me. I alienated friends, alienated most of my family to be C.W. Anderson. And then when I let C.W. Anderson go, I was like, damn, I don't know who Chris Wright is. So that was a hard night, man. That was a really bad night. But through prayer, through going to my church, being with a men's church group, I meet with them every Tuesday night. There's some amazing guys I'm friends with now that have changed my life, that have picked me up, and they check on me once a week. How you doing today? How's this going? And being with my fiance, and I unretired January 1st. Asked her to marry me the day after my 50th birthday, and had my first match Sunday before last back with this guy named Adam James. And, it's also humbling when you go out to wrestle with a guy and he looks at you and says, you're my idol. And I said, I appreciate it. He goes, no, you and Arn Anderson are the reason I'm in professional wrestling. So my life from 2020 to 2021 has been a freaking amazing ride. Crazy, scary, but right now I can be on top of the world, what it feels like.
Now that's a great story, because there's so many people around the world that'll watch this that are in locked down, and it's hard mentally on a
Mhm.
lot of people, and we are pre-programmed as men to kind of, okay, you gotta just take it. But what I'm getting from you is check up on your brothers, check up on everybody.
You know,
Check,
of the 20s, and I'm pardon for interrupting you, but of the
no,
20
good.
some thousand messages I got, like it was like 22,000, views, messages. Uh, the guy that's my pastor now, Matt Fry, uh, he is the only one that says, you look like you're struggling. If you want to talk, I'm here. Um, and I was struggling, and it doesn't hurt to reach out to somebody, to talk to somebody, just to say, hey, you okay today? Everything all right today? It doesn't take much. And with people being on lockdown, being on top of each other with families, and you not normally have to deal with them, and it's been unprecedented times. Like I said, 50 years old, I've never been through anything like this in my entire life. The personal side of it, and just being in the world, because just people have lost their damn mind over this COVID stuff. Ridiculous. They don't know how to act. They think that little paper mask is protecting the world, and there is a justification for them to get on their soapbox. Man, people have lost their freaking minds, and they forgot that we're all one person. It's a unity. They've separated black, white, Hispanic, Asian. Everybody's going in their own race, and they forget we're one. We're one. We all come from one creator, and whether you believe that or not, we're still all in this together. It's us against them to some extent. It's not divided. We don't need to be divided anymore. And once people start realizing that, and let's get back to like it used to be, enjoying life, going out and live your life, enjoy life. This thing is too damn short. Like I said, you don't know when it's going to end. Like I thought mine was going to end 7 months ago. You are not promised tomorrow and worried about what's going to happen the next day. Don't enjoy today.
I echo your statements 100%. Like there's so many on different sides of the fence, and your government is leading astray. Your government is not leading, and you're right. We to be wrestling, we the people, we all need to. We're all in it together. We need to support each other. We need to. Some of us might be doing great right now, and some of us might need a hand up. Might need that. Hey, check in. Check
It
out.
doesn't hurt.
Yeah, because it's
It
crazy
doesn't
here
hurt.
with the mask on, mask off, and arguing over putting the mask on, putting the mask off. I mean, and a lot of people, like you say, families on top of each other. I'm in the opposite. My family, I live alone in the family. I haven't been able to see the family that much because people are concerned. I've got an older stepfather who had just gone through a serious lung issue probably 5 years ago, and goes, man, I don't really. So I stay away, and it's tough.
Right.
Thank goodness I do the lockdown sessions, and I get to talk to at least people that I have a background with, so I can feel like, hey, I'm talking
Right.
to an old friend who's been in the business same as I have. He's just been on TV, so it kind of helps me out. Otherwise, I think I might have cracked a long time ago, if I haven't cracked already. So
it doesn't take much for any of us. You never know what's going to set you off. So I try to wake up every day, and thank God every day you wake up and you got air in your lungs. It's like a friend of mine that I've made for about 8 years now. He was going through some really bad heart issues where he had to have heart surgery. And I saw him one day, and I said, his name's Charles. I said, Charles, how you doing today, man? And his response was, I woke up on the right side of the dirt.
right.
So every day you wake up on the right side of the dirt, be thankful and enjoy that day.
100%. I want to back up. Now, this is my journalistic integrity on the line here, which means I looked this up on Wikipedia. Were you were drafted or got offered to play with the San Diego Padres?
Yeah, I got drafted in 1989 as a catcher.
As a catcher, yeah. So was that an easy decision to make, or at that time, how old? You're a young
18 years
man in
old.
'89. Yeah.
18 years old in 1989 because I was born in 71. I was my mom's always been very influential over my life, very dominating to some extent, almost to a point of overbearing. And she was so I don't know her reasonings for it, but talked me out of signing. You might not look at me, but at 18 years old, I was 180 pounds. I was real skinny, had a full head of hair. Imagine that. Um, so, and the one thing I had a gift. I take the line from Bull Durham. When I was born, the baseball gods reached down and turned my right arm into a thunderbolt, because I could sit on my knees and throw it to second base at 90 miles an hour without ever having to stand up. And I could throw, it would be 3-4 feet off the ground. One of the skills, I could stand at home plate and throw it over the left field fence on a line. I had a cannon. I've broken people's fingers. At 45 years old playing softball, I broke my brother's thumb at first base throwing from my knees at third playing softball. So, I still have a very strong arm. Nothing like I did when I was 18, but my mom kind of talked me out of it. She said, go to school. The pros always be there. Hindsight being 2020, man, I should have went to the pros. Even though at that time in 1989, it was before the Latin explosions of catchers came through, like the Molinas and guys like that. By then, the only Latin catchers that had Mesa was like Tony Pena, I was a big fan of, and the guy that I idolized, Benito Santiago, who was a catcher for the Padres, and backup Sandy Alomar Jr. So that was before the Latin explosion came through, and I wasn't offered a lot of money, $20,000. That's what they were going to sign me to rookie ball with a $2,000 signing bonus. And I know a buddy of mine got signed by him the year before, and he damn near starved to death with that little bit of money because he was a pitcher. But yeah, it's true, man. Got drafted because baseball was my first love. I hated professional wrestling growing up. So I was about 14 or 15 years old. So baseball was always my love, and I always wonder, man, what would have happened if I'd have went, because like the guy they drafted after me, he's now in the Hall of Fame as a baseball manager. He's a manager somewhere, Brad Osmus. So
really,
yeah. So
now, did you grow up? What was your favorite team growing up, or do you have a favorite team now?
I don't watch much. Really, I don't watch many sports like I used to. Nothing like I used. I liked the Cardinals when I was growing up, and once I discovered Benito, wherever he went, that's who I was a fan of. The year I got my tattoo of him on my leg, he was playing for the Marlins, so I was a big fan of the Marlins. Was a big fan of the Padres when he was playing there because I liked Tony Gwynn. I always liked Tony Gwynn, man. What a pure hitter he was. So right now, I could not tell you the last time I watched a baseball game, watched a basketball game. I really quit watching NBA basketball when Michael Jordan left, because I was a huge mark for Michael Jordan. Because when I played basketball, I had the number 23. I had a wristband halfway up my arm, the knee brace down below my leg, wore Jordans. Yeah, I was a mark for Michael.
Yeah, I grew up. I'm 3-4 years younger, but I grew up here in Wisconsin, Milwaukee Brewers. And it's funny that your catcher, my catcher was Ted Simmons. I think he even played possibly for the Cardinals earlier in that. So I grew up always wanting to be a catcher, but not blessed with an ounce of athletic ability. So, but
I actually started out as a second baseman. And at like 11 years old, something like that, I realized, well, I didn't realize, my coach realized I had an arm when I took a ball there was a ball hit the right field, and we were playing on a softball field, and the right fielder ran all the way to the fence to get the ball, and I run going near the fence to get it, and threw a line shot from right field to home plate without it ever touching the ground at like 11 years old. And he realized, he said I had a gift for throwing, so he put me behind the plate. Figured I wasn't bat blind. For people who don't know what bat blind mean is like when you swing the bat, people close their eyes, but I don't know a catcher that doesn't close their eyes when that bat gets swung through. It's an instinct that for a millisecond, we close our eyes.
Yeah, that's got to be crazy. And I could throw the ball, I think, when I was younger playing Little League, but I had zero accuracy. That's, you put throwing that on a rope there. So you end up going to the power plant, WCW. And trust me, I don't want you to think I'm doing this career retrospective and you're going to be on here for 6 hours, but I want to ask you, Sarge is there, but one of my favorites growing up, Pez Watley is there as well.
God,
do you have any Pez stories?
Oh, I got an amazing Pez story. I got actually a couple, man. Pez wrestled at NWA here around Raleigh, the Mid-Atlantic area. So I always watched Pez, but once I got to the power plant, I got really close with Pez. Well, during that time, I was about 250 pounds. I was, I had a stomach, and Pez's idea for me to be at WCW was he was going to call me J.B. Barrett from Tupelo, Mississippi. I was going to be Jackie Gleason's character, Buford T. Justice from Smokey and the Bandit. I had to learn to talk like Jackie Gleason. I had to walk, everything. And I remember my sheriff, quote unquote, instead of not being the son, was going to be Kaz Hayashi, because Kaz was at the plant at about that time. So Pez wouldn't call me CW anymore, because I was CW Anderson, because I was wrestling before then. But he called me JB. He's like, damn JB. Every time he talked, he like JB. So my Pez story is my first road trip at the power plant. We go to Kentucky. A lot of the power plant kids go to Kentucky to wrestle at this show. It was like at a racetrack or something. And I was Elix Skipper's very first match. His first time he ever wrestled live. I was his first match for this. So it was myself, my buddy Toad, Curtis White, who, if you go back at the end of WCW, he tagged with PG-13 against the Young Dragons. I think they called him Frog. So he was Lodi's tag team partner, the one when I tell the story of me getting the tryout. That was Toad that actually got the tryout. So Pez is riding in the back with us, and Pez likes smoking weed. So, and along that time, GHB was very popular, and we always called it Scoop. And for people that don't know, it was like a bodybuilding thing that guys took, but it was also could be used as like a date break, because you could take a capful off of a 20-ounce thing, and it was like drinking 12 beers. It would mess you up. So Toad had a bunch of that, what we call Scoop. We're driving to Kentucky, and Pez had a pair of headphones on and was listening to James Brown. And he was singing loud as hell to James Brown. He was going, baby, baby, baby. He was just singing loud as hell. And he stopped. He's like, y'all think I'm killing it, right? I'm killing this damn song. And he was like, he's like, Toad, man, I need to get some papers. We'll stop somewhere. Let's get some papers. We're like, all right, man, Pez, we got to stop in about 30 minutes. We'll get some papers. And he's like, what are y'all taking, man? What are you taking? And Toad was like, we're taking Scoop. And he'd never taken it before. He was like, well, give me some. And he said, are you sure, Pez? You sure you want some of that? He said, I'm a grown man. I can take it. So we give him a little bit. And he's like, no, give me a full cap now. I'm a grown man. I can take that. Don't be cheap on this. So we give him some Scoop. Like 5 minutes later, Pez was out. He passed out. So we drove for like another hour before we ever stopped. And he was passed out for that entire hour. Well, when he wakes up out of a slum, and he's like, y'all stop getting them papers yet? That was the first response that he had, was about his papers. So that was probably one of my best Pez stories from being around with him. But I love Pez. I miss that dude, because he was such a good person.
Just seeing him on TV as a fan, I got that, that vibe from him. Like he just a likable guy.
He told us one story when he was wrestling for Crockett. He was wrestling Boogie, Jimmy Valiant, and they had a spot on house shows of where Boogie would go outside the ring, crawl up under the ring. Pez would look out this side. Boogie would come out the other side, run in the back, drop kick, and Pez would take the bump. Well, one night, I don't know where they were at, but he said they did the spot. Boogie gets stuck under the ring. Well, about the time he gets stuck, some fan throws a bottle in the back and hits Pez in the back of the head. Pez thinks it's Boogie drop kicking him, and he takes the bump outside.
Yeah, I always hear the proverbial bag of popcorn that somebody bumps for. That's hilarious. That's awesome. And Dwayne Sarge is there. He's that guy is scary. Yeah. As he looks. I mean, stacked up there.
Sarge, I forgot who it was. Sarge is a damn fire plug. He's the 3 days when I went through the power plant, I was scared to death of that man. Still scared of him. But once I come back through and got on the other side from the tryout, an amazing dude. But when he's in Sarge mode, it's one of those just shut up and be quiet. Because those 3 days at the power plant, I was scared to death of him. I was about as scared of him as I am of Terry Funk. So, but once you got through, and Sarge, when I got through the tryout and I came back to learn, Sarge put me up under his wing because he knew I'd wrestled before, and he said he saw talent in me, and it got to a point, man. I was there for like about 9 months. He was getting me there was 3 rings there, and every time I was down there, they were in one ring. They were painting the Monday Night Nitro canvas or the Thunder canvas. So we technically only had 2 rings to work out in. Sarge was in one, and then he would always put me and Toad in another, and would be working out, training the other guys. I was out there learning and training guys like Lash LaRue, Elix Skipper, Mike Sanders, the Natural Born Thrillers, Chuck Palumbo, Mike Gingerak, guys like that. So I was like working with those guys. But Sarge, yeah, that dude has some intensity when he wants it.
I think I saw him on like an Entertainment Tonight type program, but back when wrestling was booming, and they just had like they were bringing some guys in, and I'm like, holy shit, that guy would scare the devil out of me.
He'd make you quit. Because the intensity and the try. Like the day I tried out, we had 30 or 35 started, man. It was a lot. And by the end of the first day, there was only 5 left. And the second day, there was 4 of us left, and 4 of us finished. It was brutal.
I'm always, when I look at those old tapes, or even at the time, of people that try out for our sport that think they can lay on the couch all day. I just did an interview with a very young guy who's a 7-footer, actually out of Baltimore. We were talking kind of training, and it's just the amount of people that think they can just do it and just have and I told him the first day I was ever trained, it was a Monday, and I went back. My assignment was to go watch Nitro and Raw. And I'm like, you open up and just have a totally different feel for what it is. But the number of people that show up out of shape on these shows or these things, I was like, holy crap.
We did that. They had that at ECW one time. We were in Virginia, and a bunch of people showed up. I hadn't been at ECW maybe 6 months, and all these guys show up at Virginia because, I'm well known in the Mid-Atlantic area. And there was like 30 of them showed up to try out at ECW, and every one of them there said, CW told me to come. Now, I was basically scared of my shadow at ECW. I wouldn't until I got comfortable there. So I knew I won't tell anybody to come and try out and say I told them to send them. So they were actually ribbing me. Lance Storm, Mikey Whipwreck, and Dreamer were all ribbing me, saying, they were going to punish me because all these kids showed up to try out. And then like the next day, we were like somewhere in Virginia, Salem, Virginia, maybe. And New Jack took over the tryout and was making them run up and down stairs all around the gym, just some of the most ridiculous stuff ever, because all of them, just came and tried at ECW. Usually you get one maybe try, but not like 30.
Out of those 30, anybody any good, or were they all? No, that's the tough thing. Yeah. Your wind. I just remember, no matter, my wind was different in the ring. We could go out and set up a match with no crowd around, just goofing around, and you feel like you can go all day in the sun. But then I just always had those, no matter what, you have those nerves that go with and everything, and the adrenaline. And then I'm like, I'm 5 minutes in, and that was back when I was in good shape, winded. So
sucking wind.
Yeah. You probably told a million ECW, like how you got to ECW and everything, but you just kind of touched on it. Took you a while to kind of be dialed in and comfortable there. Can you talk about, obviously, by the time you go with ECW, you've been in the business for a while, but what was different about that where you're like, was it just getting comfortable with the atmosphere and the other wrestlers?
To an extent. I'm really an introvert. I'm really shy. I'm really quiet. Chris Wright's quiet and shy. C.W. Anderson's a jackass. But when I'm in the locker room, especially ECW, because you had Bubba Ray Dudley, he was a locker room general, Taz was a locker room general, and they were assholes, point blank, to us around there, because they had a certain standard of how they wanted the locker room run. When you were new there, you got in the ring at 5:30 and you worked out until the doors open. That was just how it was. So me not knowing a lot of people, I knew Steve Corino, I knew Simon Diamond. They were legitimately the only 2 I knew, and I was traveling by myself, so I was driving everywhere. to, Fort Lauderdale, Chicago, New Orleans, White Plains, New York, places I was driving by myself. So I really had nobody to really hang out with. So I would go in the locker room, wouldn't cut up. Your locker room etiquette is go in the locker room, sit your ass down, and be quiet. And that's what I did. So a lot of them don't know that. A lot of them like to be the loudest one in the locker room. But I always sat there, and I would not even get dressed. After we get through working out, I would sit there really quiet until Dreamer, who was always the head of the locker room as far as telling who was working who each night, he would look at me and say, CW, and it was usually you tag with Angel, or then it got to be tagged with Bill Wiles against Danny and Roadkill, Nova and Kid Cash, Nova and Chris Chetty. That was usually my run in the beginning. So I just sat there and wait for him. And most of the times it was like 5 or 10 minutes before the show was going to start. And then you'd rush to get dressed and rush to put a match together. And then it got to a point where I knew them so well that I remember with Danny and Roadkill, I worked them so many times. We had legitimately 3 different matches, and we would pick and choose from each match what the spots we were going to do and intertwine them each time. So it was one of those where the locker room was tough and once the Dudleys left and once Taz left, things kind of lightened up a lot, and it got more. And then plus I was getting more, I was rising in ECW, so I was getting a lot more comfortable there too.
One of the things I want to ask you, of course, because we're Wrestling Travel and we bring fans from all over the world, and I'm sure you have different places that you've. We're from the United Kingdom. Have you had? I imagine you've had opportunities to wrestle in the UK. What's that difference between? I always want to know, like, if you wrestle in Japan, I know that crowd is very respectful and quiet, and the UK is kind of boisterous. In the US, are you able to kind of pick up on those nuances when you're in the ring, no matter where you're at, or are you just kind of going?
Yeah, you can, beforehand, like with Japan, even though they're respectful and quiet, they're very loud, when you're in the go home and stuff, especially if you can draw them into it. They like yelling your name, and they like being a part of the match as well, especially if you can draw them in. Most everywhere you're at, you kind of pick it up once you get in there. When you get in there, you can listen to them. If they're going to boo you, they're going to cheer you. If they know who you are, there's nothing worse than going somewhere, especially like in UK, and they're just not knowing who the hell you are, or like, oh my God, I can't believe this one's here. In Germany, I worked like that one time, and I wasn't well received in Germany. I think they were expecting like somebody else, like Masato Tanaka, because they said they had a Japan superstar, 0-1 superstar, and ECW superstar there, and it was me. And I heard there was rumblings because they thought it was Masato Tanaka, and they got my ass. And then, here in the States is, a lot of the crowds want to be involved in it. They want to chant, do their chants, and they want to be more over than what the guys in the ring are. And a lot of them are spoiled. So it's just different places you pick it up. And like one of my favorite places to work is Japan, just because of the respect those people show you.
Now, original ECW and the rebranding, I know you got to work a couple times with the rebranded WWE.
You talking about the Disney version?
Yeah. I just want to talk to you about. Obviously, I know the difference, but from somebody who was there as ECW is developing and you're working it now, what's that point of view like? I mean, are you going this? You realize what is going on, but you're like, hey, I'm happy to work. Is that the kind of attitude you have, or?
No, I wasn't happy to work. I wasn't happy to be there. In the beginning, I was, because I thought Paul and Tommy had control of it. Because Tommy tells me we're going to pick up and do just like, it's going to pick up where we left off. I'm going to be one of the top heels. And he and I are going to rekindle a feud, things like that. So I was extremely excited. Even the first match, I was there. I was extremely excited because I'm at the ECW arena and I get to work Sabu. So, but after that first match and we hear Vince is taking it over and putting his guys in there, I was like, yeah, screw this. It sucked from there on out, because then he wanted us to record at SmackDown, which is not us. We're small venues. We're smaller crowds. That's not us. And then you're putting your guys in there who are not ECW. They're like that WWF mentality. So, I mean, there were some good guys there. I got along with, I knew Punk from a while. I've known Shannon Moore because I worked with him a few times. I knew Shannon from, way back, because Shannon was one of the ones that started with me and the Hardys, and Shane Helms, the Dupps, Steve Carino, Lodi. So, we had a big class of guys in the North Carolina area. But just the feel of it, just being at the show all freaking day long, and the backstabbing and how that place just was in general. It's like, it sucked the life out of you. At ECW, it was fun. You're with your family, you're hanging out, you're carrying on, cutting up, telling jokes, and there it's just like, it's like it rips your soul out. When I found out I wasn't going to be wrestling, I got out of there. I didn't want to be at that place. I was so happy the day John Laurinaitis called me and fired me. When he said, CW, we're going to have to let you go, I went, sweet, thank you.
Thank you.
I said, can I go back to Japan? And he was like, yeah. He said, you just can't go to TNA for 90 days. I'm like, yeah, that won't be a problem. I just want to go back to Japan. That place, to me, and there was other, and you can talk to the other ECW people that were there. It was a horrible experience. I think pretty much Vince brought it back to try and kill it, to make his product look better.
Did they film that? Obviously, like you said, with like SmackDown, they almost filmed it like the fans are here, we're gonna do the Sunday Night Heat, then we're gonna do this, and then you're actually gonna get your SmackDown.
Yeah. I don't remember what part of the show we filmed. I think we filmed before SmackDown filmed. Maybe, I don't remember. But a lot of times I wasn't on the show. I think I know my only match was with CM Punk. But yeah, you would get filmed in that huge arena. That's not ECW. We were smaller, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 seat places, if 3,000 seats. So we were smaller, on top of you type places, and he never grasped that concept. And if he'd have left it alone, let Paul and Tommy run it, let us do what we did, he'd have made a fortune with us. He'd have made a killing.
Baffles the mind.
He couldn't keep his grubby paws out of it though. So,
one thing I want to talk about now, we're recording this on March 1st, 2021, just so if everybody's watching this when this airs. Last night in Burlington, North Carolina, there was an event called First Time Ever, and coincidentally, we had already set this up. We have a mutual friend in Franco Varga, and he announces last night. I knew that I was going to talk to you today, and it looks like you're going to be on the First Time Ever 2, which sounds like a crazy name, but that was he's going to send me. I'm going to get a chance to watch it tonight. But how excited are you for? I don't even know if you know exactly what's happening on that event, but
I know I'm tagging with we're got the Extreme Horsemen running again. Yep. So I'm excited. I'm with my longtime friend, Preston Quinn. Preston was trained by my Anderson brother, Pat Anderson, the one that gave me the Anderson name. So, and I've known Preston literally before he was ever in the business. Preston was like 17 years old, and I've known him ever since, for that amount of time. So like 27, 28 years. And he's cut from the same cloth I am, old school, loves the old school. He has a very intelligent mind for wrestling. And whoever we're wrestling at night, it's a bad day for them, because it's been a while since we tagged like that. And we're in a very intense old school tag team. We don't do flips. We don't do a lot of that stuff. We just knock your damn head off. And we, but like I always said, we're in the Horsemen, we hit harder. So it doesn't matter who we are, but I'm excited to be, because, we were at that event last night, and man, just being back with a crowd and everybody's excited for professional wrestling. Because it's been a year literally, so it was a good time, man. I'm looking so forward to being back in that locker room with those guys again.
I am too. I know that obviously that couldn't be announced as a sellout, but for the COVID regulations, you guys got as many as were possible through the door, and people are hungry for pro wrestling and for live events and stuff, and as are the athletes and the wrestlers that do it. So that combination is awesome. So if you're watching this, and we'll get everything kind of tagged in here and in the post-production, but whatever streaming service picks that up, you got to get the First Time Ever part too. Yeah,
you do. Hey, if nothing else, just to watch the Horsemen wrestle and me be back in the ring again. So yeah.
You guys butt heads and kick some butt. Last couple questions here, because I want to be respectful of your time. And I don't, like I said, I think I could talk wrestling with you for hours, but who's going to sit and watch that? Not a whole lot of people. I would. I'll rewatch it. But what would be, and I'm just coming off the heels of talking to a young wrestler, just kind of starting out, like I said, 7 foot tall, Ben Bishop, been in the business for a year. What would be some of the, in passing, best advice you could give to a young guy a year in?
Attend as many seminars you can, reputable seminars. None of these ones that got indie guys run. You don't want to. You go attend seminars like ones I teach. Tom Pritchard teaches stuff like that. If any seminar with a reputable name, some guy that's been there and done that and has a good name behind him as far as teaching and that he was a good wrestler, attend that. Be your own worst critic. Video every one of your matches and send them to somebody that you respect in wrestling to critique them. And critique them as telling you what you did wrong, not kiss your ass and tell me what I did right. Because that's a lot of problems with independent wrestlers now, especially here in the Mid-Atlantic. They want to listen to the fans and tell them how good they are instead of listening to the veterans that tell them some of the shitty stuff they need to cut out. I always said, you keep listening to the fans, one day you're going to be one of them. You'll be sitting out there with them. You need to be humble and respectful, not only to the guys in the locker room with, but to the veterans. And just remember, man, this wrestling, Jamie Dundee said it best, wrestling's not fake, it's fixed. If it was fake, we wouldn't be getting injured, we wouldn't get hurt, but the shit ain't to some extent real. And a lot of guys think it is. Slow down. I mean, there's several different things I could tell this young guy. Dallas Page told me one time, if you think you're going slow, slow down more. Because guys like to get in such a, I teach this in my seminars, and it takes a second for it to click. But when I tell people to slow down, it's, Steve Carino told me, Steve's my best friend, been my best friend for years. He told me something, I'm going to use it. Professional wrestling is emotion over emotion, emotion over motion. If you slow down, the fans can react to it. You look at it like this. Humans have an 8-second attention span. Goldfish have a 9-second attention span. A damn goldfish has a longer attention span than us. So that's why you have to slow down and let it register so the fans can soak in. Your fan, the people in the crowd, that's the ones you're going after. Let that soak in and let them register to bring them in. Because those are the ones that paid that hard-earned money, worked 40 hours a week to come watch you wrestle. And a lot of guys have got so many damn spots in their match, the fans can't keep up with it. But they got to get their shit in, brother. But they want to do that. But you tell them that, we don't know what the hell we're talking about. They don't want to listen. So take it from this old grizzled veteran. I can call myself that. Slow the hell down.
Oh, it's so good to hear it. A real small story. I think it was 2019 in December. A show literally an hour from me has a seminar with Joe Laurinaitis, Road Warrior Animal. I go in there, we're setting up the ring, 20, 25 guys. Seminar starts. Everybody goes to Burger King except for me and 2 young guys. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. Why would you not want to stay? You don't know everything. And I likened it to a lot of people are like, I'm afraid to go in and make a mistake with the vet. Well, that's when you want to make it at a seminar and figure it out. Because, I've learned it in school a long time ago. If I just pretend I know something on a test, if I don't learn it, I'm going to fail that every time. And now that little piece of knowledge that I don't know is going to grow into some big thing that I'm like, if I would have just
learned
this. Yeah.
That's the ego. When we did that AML seminar back in January, it was myself, Preston Quinn, Josh Gary, and Dr. Tom Pritchard, who was the head of it. Preston and I couldn't get there fast enough so we could sit with him and talk to him before it started, because Preston and I love tag team wrestling. We're tag team specialists, and we wanted to learn from Dr. Tom Pritchard. And to tell the respect, that Sunday we're teaching tag team wrestling, or tag team wrestling is going. So Dr. Tom, he's teaching us, and we're sitting there listening. He looks at us and CW Preston, do you want to, give your opinion or tell your, what you do with pro wrestling or tag team wrestling? So Preston and I start telling what we do, how we look at tag team wrestling, things to do, this, that, and the other. And after about 5 minutes, Dr. Tom looks at us and goes, you guys should be teaching this up top. Not only should you be up there, but you should be teaching tag team wrestling up top. He said, the shit y'all saying, some of it I have forgotten about. Some of it I've never even thought about. He said, it makes such good sense. To have Dr. Tom Pritchard tell us that, it was money to, I mean, it was an ego stroke to us to hear that from him.
Yeah, well deserved. And now I see just on social media today or yesterday, he just put out a book to coincide with the Jacob Pritchard's Academy, which I'm gonna have to check it out. And
definitely,
always can always learn more. Always learn more. So
look, 27 years, man, I've been doing this, and I'm still learning. Still love. I learn from guys teaching different schools. They teach certain things that I've never even thought about of putting it in a different perspective. You're always learning. When you think you're too good to learn, get the hell out of the business, because you're just blocking it for somebody else that wants to learn.
100%. Like I said, in coaching and anything, if I tell you something 27 times and somebody else tells you 27 times, somebody might come along, say the exact same thing, but tweak a little bit of it, or one word clicks, and that's when the learning curve starts.
None of us are right, man. None of us teaching seminars are 100% right. No teacher up top anywhere around this world that's got some respect to them are right. You take each one of these seminars, you take a little piece from me, a little piece from Preston, a little piece from Dr. Tom Pritchard, a little bit from this teacher, a little bit from my buddy Steve Carino, and you take and you mold it into making you. That makes you. I don't want you to be a copycat of me or anybody else. Take every little thing we say and make it you.
100%. So I've got my final question for you, the most important question I'll ask. But before I just want to say a few things to you. Congratulations on the engagement. That is very exciting. I can't tell you, not knowing the past when it started off the last 7 months for you. Thank the Lord that you are still with us and that we're able to have this conversation today. And I hope that it leads to many more conversations. So I don't know how I say that, congratulations, but from a brother to a brother, I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
So my final question, everybody that's watching this is going to want to know, how do I follow C.W. Anderson? How do I get in touch with him on social media? Is he selling merch that I could order? We obviously know in April, I think it's April 18th, if I have it right, you're going to be in Burlington, North Carolina, but they'll want to follow you on the socials, and how can they do that?
Everything is ECW Anderson. I keep that because it's the simplest to remember. And if you go on Instagram, stuff like that, and you see the drawings that I've recently put out, all those are T-shirts. If you want one of those in a T-shirt, you let me know, and my T-shirt guy can get it to you. Because I have an amazing artist. His name's Terry Powell. He's linked on my stuff. We actually worked together at the Wake County Sheriff's Office here in North Carolina when I was a sheriff about 10 years ago. And the dude is talented beyond repair, man. I've turned him on to like about seven different wrestlers. So I'm trying to get his name out there more. So once you see his stuff, if you're a wrestler and you want some drawings, and, tweak to you, hit up Terry and tell him CW sent you, man, because he's good.
And he's linked up on your stuff. All right, we'll try to share his address. So stick around after this for the after show. I'm talking to you, not for everybody watching, but I want to thank you so much for joining us today. So CW Anderson, I can't thank you enough. Thank you.